Tech Table. Tech Table. Tech Table.
Hello and welcome to the Tech Table, the Technical Staff and Theatre Workers podcast. It's the podcast in which I talk to people who work in the technical side of the entertainment industry about how they got in, their experiences and any advice they can give to anyone getting in. This is episode 3 of Season 7. A huge thank you to everybody who's listened so far to Season 7 and indeed the previous seasons. We've had really good numbers and it's been really great. So thank you so much and long may it continue. If you'd like to get in touch with us on the email, it is techtablepod@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with us via the socials, it is techtablepod on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, Threads and YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell anyone you know who's interested in the technical side of the industry and anyone who's not interested because it might make them interested. And so without further ado, let's see who's at the tech table with me today. I'm here with my guest at this time. If you'd like to introduce yourself and tell me what your current job title is.
Yeah, so I am Alex. I'm from Get Into Theatre. I'm currently the director of Get Into Theatre. Previously, producer, director, practitioner.
Excellent. And not trying to sound stupid, what is Get Into Theatre?
So Get Into Theatre is kind of the place to start for anyone looking to start their theatre career. So we are essentially a website where you can explore all the different roles that exist in theatre, what the career pathway looks like, how much people get paid, lots of different blogs, videos. It's basically tips and tricks of how to get into theatre. But we also have a database of all the different entry roles that exist across the UK. So training, experience, funding opportunities. So if you're looking for an entry point, Get Into Theatre is your place to start.
Excellent. That was a well-rehearsed pitch. And did you start this to get into theatre, or have you joined?
I didn't start it, unfortunately. So we have been going since 2019, and we became a separate charity in 2022. We originally housed at The Stage newspaper, and now a separate charity. So also working alongside industry and education to kind of break down barriers to make sure that young people up and down the country know about how to get into theatre and the language that's used, how much to kind of like... you might, if you're a freelancer, what that looks like, how much to charge, like what bodies exist to protect yourself as well. So I didn't start it, unfortunately. I joined Get Into Theatre in 2023. So still relatively new, but prior to that, worked at the Theatre Hall Bath, predominantly worked in kind of community and outreach and youth theatre, producing shows, directing and leading youth theatre sessions as well.
Excellent. Before we go on to your career and all of you, I need to ask you, when I toured into the Theatre Royal in Bath, there was a butterfly.
Oh my gosh, it's still there.
Still there?
It is still there.
Explain the butterfly.
So the butterfly was from a pantomime or a ballet. Oh gosh, I'm really not going to do this justice at all. But I think it was from a ballet, and it was a scenic piece that was essentially a butterfly. And that during the performance, a butterfly actually came on stage and was meant to represent someone. Oh God, again, I can't really remember the whole story, but it was really symbolic of something. And so anyway, they didn't want to remove this piece of scenery because they felt it would be bad luck. So this butterfly has been there for so many years. It's collecting dust. It is really grubby. But if you're ever backstage at the Theatre Hall Bath, if you look up, you will see the butterfly.
Yes, I toured in there over 20 years ago and it was there.
Yeah, it's still there.
I think I heard once that they did take it down and then something bad happened, so they put it back up again.
Probably.
So,
I mean, the theatre is full of superstition.
I mean, it's fantastic. It's a fantastic one. It really is. So how did you originally get into theatre?
So I love that you said Get Into Theatre as well. Just, pushing the Get Into Theatre there as well.
I meant that as well.
Do you know what? We're called Get Into Theatre because it was the most Googled search term that a lot of people were using.
How do I get into theatre? Yeah.
Hence why we became Get Into Theatre. I originally got into theatre, so I went to Bath University, hence why I then worked for the Theatre Hall Bath and stuck around that part of the UK. And I did drama and creative writing. And when I graduated, wasn't really sure what I wanted to go into. Tried a little bit of theatre, tried a little bit of film, and really kind of found that theatre was my home and really felt like I belonged. And I started working as every single entry point role you can possibly think of.
Right.
So we're talking stage door, we're talking box office, we're talking front of house, we're talking workshop assisting, we're talking dressing, like every single kind of entry point role you can think of, just to kind of explore what it was I really wanted to do. And then became a freelancer, became a practitioner, working with young people, became a producer. I founded a theatre company. We specialised in making work for young people. And then got my job at the Theatre Royal Bath being the executive director of the theatre school. And that essentially was a snazzy way of saying that I was producing the work that the youth theatre did.
Yeah.
And that was mainly housed at the Egg Theatre, which is, if you're ever in Bath, is the most brilliant, wonderful little theatre ever. And I still regularly go there myself. And that's kind of where I found my niche. And so it was all about kind of producing, coordinating. I just love to be the one that's part of production meetings where you kind of explore how we can possibly make something happen, and then going away and finding the money to make it happen. And then I got my job as the director of Get Into Theatre. And so although I'm still based in the West Country, we are a nationwide charity. So I have the privilege to travel around the country, working with industry, working with young people, working with education providers to kind of really break down barriers.
Excellent, excellent. So you've just done a couple of jobs then. So
Yeah.
What, if you can remember, is the first show that you ever worked on? Got paid for?
That got paid for. The first show I ever worked on that got paid... So I've got two. One is a freelancer, and then one is a full-time member of staff.
Right.
So as a freelancer, I worked on The House of Bernarda Alba, and that was at the Egg Theatre. And it was a community theatre show, although I was an assistant director, paid assistant director. And it was just wonderful because we essentially had people that were in their 80s acting alongside people who were teenagers.
Yeah.
And I just fell in love with that kind of side of theatre, of people in one space being really driven to, doing it in their spare time and just loving it and being fueled by each other with all its kind of messiness of everyday life as well. And that was wonderful. I loved that. And then my first producing role, again, interestingly, was at the Egg Theatre, and that was Hound of the Baskervilles, and we had it written by a young person who was mentored by a professional playwright, and we flat floored the whole auditorium and we turfed it in real turf.
Wow.
And the audience could picnic on the grass, and we had to water that turf every day.
Oh,
and by
wow.
the end of the run it was not looking too good.
I'll bet.
Yeah. we had the set designer on her hands and knees sewing the bits of turf together so that they didn't curl up at the edges. And we had to put sprinklers on overnight to try and keep it moist without kind of obviously any kind of water damage going on.
I bet their cleaners hated that.
Yes, they really did. So that was my first professional producing experience.
Excellent. So when you were freelancing, did you, being a woman, did you find it difficult? Was it a lot more, how do I put this? Was it a lot more of a struggle because you're a woman freelancing in that world, or is it sort of...
I feel like for producing and directing, it can be a little bit more gender balanced than maybe perhaps any other kind of backstage roles. So I didn't feel like it was much of a barrier. Sometimes if I had a particularly male-heavy creative team and I was the person in charge and the person with the money, it could be hard. But I think with experience, you kind of learn to really kind of hold yourself in that space. And I sometimes felt like people were questioning my authority, but I learned how to tackle that quite quickly. And often you try to work with people that you get on with.
Yeah.
And so I quickly learned who I didn't want to work with.
Excellent, excellent. What would you say are the pros and cons of working in this industry?
I think the pros are no day is ever the same. You're never going to kind of log onto the emails and feel like you know what's going to happen. That could be a pro and a con.
Yeah.
But for me, it's very much a kind of pro. I wasn't, although often a lot of the time, producer-wise, and then when I've been in PAYE roles based in offices, it is an office-based role, but it doesn't, if you're part of a venue or part of a theatre company, it doesn't feel that way. So having the no day ever the same still keeps it theatre, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, the fact that, like I said, you get to choose who you work with a lot of the time. As the producer, you would often get to choose who that person is that you want to see every day and have conversations with every day. I think the cons, like I said, every day not being the same. I think in my current role, what's quite hard is I've suddenly gone from a role that is very much around people all the time to I am quite remote, and I have brilliant, wonderful relationships with lots of different venues and industries, people working in the industry. But it can be quite lonely sometimes.
Right.
But as long as you kind of find your tribe, I think you're going to be okay.
Find your tribe. I like
that.
And what advice would you give to anybody who wants to get in, other than go to...
getintotheatre.org.
Yeah.
I think advice-wise, again, surround yourself with people that kind of champion you. I think if you can... It's not all about networking, but if you can, find your tribe, like we said, and people that will say your name in a room full of people and you would say theirs, I think that is my biggest advice, is to find your family and just your support network within this industry. And I think you'll suddenly feel like you're home and you can thrive. And so sometimes it's, the reason Getting to Theatre exists is to try and signpost to those opportunities, but it is sometimes hard to find them, and it is sometimes hard to put yourself out there. But if you've got the backing of other people that you trust, I think you're going to be okay.
Excellent. And that's everything I've got, so thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
A huge thank you to Alex there. Really enjoyed talking to Alex. She has a lot of enthusiasm, and it's really great to talk to her. We spoke during the Theatrecraft event that we did a few months ago, so that was really great fun and really enjoyed that. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for downloading and the continued downloads. Let's continue this as much as we can, and let's get this as big as possible. If you want to get in touch with us, it is techtablepod@gmail.com. If you want to get in touch with us via the socials, it is techtablepod on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, Threads, and YouTube. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know who's interested in theatre and in the technical side of the industry, and anyone who's not interested, because it might make them interested. A big thank you to the Tech Table team, Mig, G, Jade, Flynn, and Nathan. Really, really big thanks to them, because it wouldn't happen without them. And so thank you very much for listening. Thank you to everybody who's out there, everybody who's been in touch, and everyone who's been a part of the show so far. And long may it all continue. So all that's left for me to say this week is thank you very much for listening once again, and I shall see you all next week.